Before we approve it, I mean, do they?
Well, assuming that they would have to do one or two of these things, and the final plat before it's recorded. Otherwise, it would not be allowed to be recorded.
All right, fair enough.
I believe there may have been some questions on this one from some opposition on this one.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll now call for opposition to this case. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 11? This is the 5-lot subdivision of 12.5 acres off in the Pinson area.
Or if you've got questions, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. If you step up to the podium and just give us your name and address and let us know what questions you have.
I'm Cynthia Suttles, and we have the property at 3274 and 3280 First Street. We understand the subdivision is coming in from Red Hollow Road, but we are concerned about a road that may be run down the side of our property if this division is actually built up.
Okay. Can you tell us where here your property is located?
Oh, okay.
So you can see
Do I just touch it? Is it
you
showing here?
can just, it's the north.
Is this, oh, I didn't know if I was circling.
It's up there.
The house up on the top?
Okay. Yeah, my staff can help me out if I misstate this, but what I understand is that at First Street there is an existing right of way that does carry through down by your house or down to the south of your property. Okay, that extends on out, but that there has not been any kind of street built in that area, and so they're going to carve out lot number 3 that would be just to the south of it, and they've got two different ways. In order to avoid that property from being landlocked, either they're going to have to extend the road out, which there would be an extension of First Street to the south of your property, or they're going to have to provide access to lot 3 from Red Hollow Road. So they've got two options, one of which is to extend First Street, which would create a street to the south of your property, or have an easement coming through the lots to the south. And it sounds like that has not yet been determined on which one they'll do. Or they still have the option, but they're saying that they're wanting to do the easement route as opposed to opening up the street.
And I've seen this, just to add to this, I've seen the easement. It wasn't in the original package here.
Uh-huh.
The owners has stated that it would be cost prohibitive for them to improve the road, so I see no reason why they would go that route.
I see. Okay. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Is there anyone else who has any questions or concerns? Or wishes to state anything? All right. Seeing none, we'll ask for questions from the staff or from the commission.
Mr. Chairman, just to make sure I understood, so we can approve the preliminary plat with the need for the easement for accessing Lot 3 from Red Hollow Road. Is that correct, Mr. Andrews?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
And like I said, I anticipate all the comments have led to the fact that they will be going with the easement. So that's
Would it be
almost certain.
beneficial to do an either-or approval in case they change their mind, so we don't have to come back?
Probably so.
Well,
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I would say that if they were to do the other option, they would have to do that anyway without the stipulation from planning and zoning. Correct? I mean, if they're going to come through and build within the right of way and extend the road, we would just do that as part of the normal subdivision procedure, regardless of any stipulation that you may put on. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's something that's already.
It'll have to be approved by Roads and Transportation. So if they do that.
The right-of-way exists.
Louder, please.
The right-of-way exists.
I understand.
So the requirement to upgrade that road, as part of that access, would be implicit with that access off of of that side of the property.
Right, we would not be able to issue a building permit
I guess,
if they did not have access.
I guess my only point was if we say just the easement off of, I guess, maybe Lot 5, and they changed their mind and wanted to do the road, then we would have told them they have to have the easement.
That would be correct.
So that's why I wanted to do it either or.
Right.
Okay. Just trying to keep from having to come back.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve S21-0011 with either a modification to the plat providing the easement to Lot 3 or the stipulation that First Street extended provide access to Lot 3 and is approved by the Jefferson County Department of Roads and Transportation.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next case is S21-12. This is Christopher Abston's request for a two-lot subdivision of 11.27 acres in the Empire area. Mr. Larry Davis is the applicant's agent, or the applicant. Mr. Martin, if you would, please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a simple acreage tract being split into two lots for residential use here in A1. Staff has no issues with this. Right-of-way has already been dedicated. Staff recommendation is approval.
All right. Is anyone here in opposition to this case?
Anybody want to poke their head through the door and see what Michael's up to?
All right, thank you. All right, are there any questions from the commission or from staff? We sure we don't get Mr. Larry Davidson here? He's always fun to talk with. He's in? All right, well, seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve S21-0012 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion properly seconded. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Our next case is S21-13. This is Pamela Martin's request for a two regular lots and then two conservation lots of 23.25 acres in the Oak Grove area. Mr. Martin, if you would please present the case.
Yes, this is a subdivision of 1 acreage tract. They're creating two lots for residential use. One's already existing house there, as you can see in the southern portion. There's a lot of floodplain on, oddly enough, on both sides of this tract, and because of that, they are carving off both portions of that as conservation lots, not for development. And this will be tied by deed to the lots there of record. No dedication, right-of-way dedication is required on this, and there's no traffic or zoning issues. The staff recommendation is approval.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case?
No, sir. The applicant's here if you have questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission or from staff? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve S21-0013 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Our next case is S21-14. This is Rex and Cindy Todd's request for a 4-lot subdivision, 20.59 acres in the Bluff Ridge area. Mr. Martin, if you would please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a resurvey of of a existing subdivision. They're recording, or trying to record 3 new lots on the southern portion of this road. This is A1 agriculture, and the subdivision does comply with our regulations. There was an issue with the right-of-way that has since been rectified, and that's why they are including the northern tract of that property, as the right-of-way has moved just a little bit. That's been worked out with our staff now, and the staff recommendation is approval.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case?
No, sir, the applicant here, if you have any questions.
All right. Any questions from the commission or from staff? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S21-0014 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion properly seconded. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next case is S21-15. This is Barnwood Property LLC's request for a 4-lot subdivision of 32 acres in the Hoover area. Zone multifamily, and Mr. Rawson is the applicant. Is there, Mr. Martin, if you would please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a subdivision. This has actually once come before the Planning and Zoning Commission. In 2019, it was approved preliminarily. It was never recorded. They had to work out some access with, I believe, the city of Hoover, and that has been done at this point now, so they've brought it back before the Planning and Zoning Commission to be approved again, as the expiration is only lasts 12 months, so
Yeah.
that's why they brought it back before us again. There's 4 lots total. Only the southern portion is actually in Jefferson County, so there's actually 2 lots in Jefferson County. The other 2 have to be permitted by Hoover and approved by Hoover, so they'll have to sign off on the final plat. This is R4, and this is a multi-family development that's going to go on these 2 tracks to the south. The staff the staff recommendation is approval.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? Any opposition to this case?
No, sir.
No opposition. Are there any questions from staff or from the commission? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S21-0015 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Our next case is subdivision case number S21-16. Terry and Candace Cruz request for a 2-lot subdivision of 3.28 acres in the Mount Olive area. Mr. Martin, please present the case.
Yes, sir. They are splitting a 1 acreage tract into 2 lots of record for residential use. There's actually a house already on lot 1 to the north west there, and there's a proposed house there, as you can see on the plot plan on lot 2. Staff has completed a review, and we found no issues. Department of Health will have to sign off on the final plat, and the staff recommendation is approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case?
No, sir.
Seeing none, are there any questions from the commission or from staff? All right. Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S21-0016 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next case is S21-17. This is the Franklin's request for 3 standard lots, 2 conservation lots of from 23.31 acres in the corner area. Mr. Martin, please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a split of a 1 lot of record into 3 additional lots for residential use. In addition, there's 2 conservation lots there along the river that are not for development, carving off floodplain. There is no right-of-way dedication required, no traffic issues. However, it was noted that in the future, any subdivision of the property along Bethel Drive will warrant road improvements. I will note there was a leaflet handout in your notebooks. There was a late plat that was submitted. There are no changes in that. That was just for clarity. It's a black and white and with bold property lines, so it could be read a little more clearly. Other than that, the staff recommendation on this subdivision is approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? Mr. Morrison, you know if there's anyone, no opposition? No. All right. Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S21-0017 as presented.
Mr. Miller, would you consider amending your motion to discuss the exception to subdivision regulation?
Yes, sir. Make a motion, the exception of the subdivision regulation?
Yes. Is this the correct one?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm sorry.
So-
Yeah, there is no road frontage on this one. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So it needs so here's my proposal, is an exception to subdivision regulation allowing all 3 lots to be recorded without road frontage. Do you accept that?
Yes, sir.
That's your motion, Mr. Miller?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, second.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, next case is S21-18, Daniel and Annie Sandlin's request for a 3-lot subdivision of 42.27 acres in the Warrior area. Mr. Martin, please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a resurvey of Lot 2 of the Capstone Sunview subdivision. This was approved and recorded last year. They're essentially taking this lot and creating 2 additional lots, so 3 total lots out of this 1 existing lot. No right-of-way dedication required, no traffic issues, no zoning regulation issues here. So staff recommendation is approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case?
No, sir.
Seeing none, any questions from the commission? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S21-0018 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next case, S21-19, Mildred Rhodes, request for a 2-lot subdivision of 2.4 acres in the Warrior area. Mr. Martin, please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a split of 1 acreage tract into 2 lots of record, and staff has completed a review of this. The one issue that there is currently is there's an abandoned barn that sits, as you can see right there, on both lots. So we have added a stipulation to the recommendation that its approval with the requirement that the barn structure, which spans the proposed property line, is moved within the proper setbacks of either lot or removed completely. And also, right-of-way dedication will be required for this property as well.
All right. I can't even see the abandoned barn on the aerial photo.
I think it's.
But I trust it was spotted.
Rudimentary structure, so they've already, the client knows about it, and they said they were going to be taking it down.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case?
No, sir.
All right, any questions from the commission? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S21-0019 with the stipulation that the barn structure which spans the proposed property line is moved within the proper setbacks of either lot or removed completely.
Second.
All right, you got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next case, subdivision case 21-20, Safe Future Birmingham Real Estate LLC's request for a 2-lot subdivision of 2.05 acres in the Rocky Ridge area. Mr. Martin, if you would please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a resurvey. Essentially, the only purpose of this resurvey is to adjust the boundary line between Lot 2A and Lot 3A. There was a house that was built just a little bit too close to the property line, and as such, they are moving that line to put this house in compliance with the zoning regulations and setback requirements for this lot. So this was a recorded in 2017. Staff recommendation is approval.
All right. Anyone here in opposition to this case?
No, sir.
Any questions from the commission? May I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S21-0020 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. Next case, subdivision case S21-22. This is, looks like the Tingle and Gamble's request for a two-lot subdivision of 9.24 acres in the Pinson area. Mr. Martin, please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as you can see, this is just we have one owner here. Lot 1 is conveyance and land to Lot 2. So they are creating a subdivision in order to do that. Staff has completed a review of this and found no issues, so our recommendation is approval.
All right, is there anyone here in opposition to this case?
No, sir.
Seeing none, any questions from the commission? All right, does anybody want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S21-0022 as presented.
Second?
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, that concludes our subdivision agenda. We'll now hear our rezoning cases. Staff will present the rezoning case to the board, and then the representative will be asked to come forward and add anything you would like to the presentation. Don't feel, if you're the applicant, don't feel the need to. You'll have an opportunity after we call for opposition to come forward if you don't do so initially. Each side will have a maximum of 15 minutes to present or oppose their case, or the case. And bear in mind that this body only makes recommendations on rezoning cases. The county commission has the final say-so on rezoning cases, and that decision will be made at a subsequent hearing, which you'll receive notice of. All right. Our first rezoning case is case number Z21-5, Crimson Oak Grove Resources, LLC's request for a rezoning to I-3 industrial for compliance from existing mining operation. This is a 35-acre parcel in the Oak Grove area. Mr. Morrison, if you would please present the case.
Yes, sir. This case, the genesis of this case is we received notices from the Alabama Surface Mining Commission when there are instances where they are asked for approval for certain activities that are related to mining. And in this instance, the proposed activity is a small borehole to be placed on the property. Once we got to looking at the zoning of the entire property, if you'll notice on the screen, everything that's outlined in red is the property in question, and what's being rezoned is the portion that remains the green, the portion that's A1, which is where the proposed borehole is going to be located. And if you'll notice, there's also a helicopter pad that's on the property. To my knowledge, it's never been used, but it's there just in case there are emergencies related to the mine itself. That helipad has to have approval from the County Board of Zoning Adjustment, and they're scheduled to hear that case at the end of this month. Other than that, it's simply like a compliance case, and staff has recommended approval by keeping a 100-foot buffer zone along all boundaries shared with residential property, which in this instance, if you look on the aerial photograph, and measuring the brush that's right there behind the residences that are on Mud Creek Road, that equates to about 100 feet. So essentially, it would be staying out of that brush and keeping away from that brush, and also that any natural vegetation within that buffer zone be maintained to the maximum extent possible. So that would create any sort of direct interaction with those residential properties that face Mud Creek Road, and would bring the entirety of the property into compliance rather than administering based on these arbitrary lines that are somewhat questionable and skeptical. So, and that's the reason for staff's recommendation. The applicant is here if you have any questions. If you'd like to see what these boreholes are, it's essentially just a pipe that comes out of the ground. And what they do is they send dust into the mine as part of the mining operation. And Heather can back me up on this.
Yeah, so in coal mines, you have to maintain a rock dusted surface within so many feet of an active mining face. It's an MSHA regulation to control the potential for explosion. So they have to handle rock dust in and out of the mine and apply it to the ridge, the back, so the walls, the ceiling, sorry, within so many feet of the face. And this is an ongoing operation, and they do that. It's very similar to it's a very fine powder, so like the pumping operation that goes on for a cement silo or something is kind of very similar handling facilities, and then they'll just pick sites that it's introduced underground. So it's basically a pipe and then a fitting and then down underground.
All right. I'm not sure I completely understand, but let me ask you this. Is there this dust, does it go in the pipe or come out of the pipe?
Goes into the pipe.
Goes in the pipe.
Goes into the pipe. Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm sorry. Yeah,
There would be no fugitive dust on the surface at this point.
I got you. Okay.
correct.
All right. Fair enough. Sure.
But again, what is the dust goes into the pipe for what purpose?
It goes into the mine, into the actual mining below, the mining operations below, and it forms, they put along the walls and everything else as they're phasing the mining operation.
So the purpose of it, when you're doing coal mining can produce ultrafine dust particles that end up in suspension in the air. Those are potentially explosive. So the purpose of the rock dust is to keep the miners safe. It is to abate that potentially explosive atmosphere in the mining operation itself. And it's required under MSHA for their operation, and there's very strict rules for the amount that you can advance those bases and how often you have to apply it and continue to maintain it.
So is there a shaft mine underneath this property?
Is the underground mining?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, this area of the county is
Yeah. And that's
heavily
what,
underground.
I mean, this is directly above a shaft mine.
Yeah, there's coal
Yeah.
mining.
In
Okay.
fact,
But,
the main shaft where they go down into the mine is actually a little bit further down the road on this property,
okay.
or on an adjacent parcel connected with this,
There's
yes.
the ventilation building and then the portal.
Okay.
Which, all of that is appropriately zoned. It's just this one portion of the property that retains its A1 zoning.
Yeah.
And again, going into, trying to get everything into compliance is the reason for the case.
Yeah, I mean, that's my question, I guess. Is there mining currently underneath this property that's not zoned I-3?
Well, there's mining all over the west portion of the county that
I
may or may
know,
not be
that's not my
zoned.
question though.
But underneath this property,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Assuming so, since again, that's where the borehole is going.
right. I got you. Okay. Thank you. All right. Is there, we'll now ask the applicant, maybe that would have been appropriate to do earlier. I'm sorry, but if the applicant could come forward if he would like and add any information to the presentation.
Did that do okay?
Yes, you did well. Excellent.
Did Heaven do okay?
Yes, excellent. Great explanation. That's exactly right.
If you could, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Stephen Blankenship, McGehee Engineering.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blankenship. I guess you were able to hear the
Yes,
presentation Mr. Morrison said, and then Mr. Carter's explanation
Yes,
of what
that was
the
an accurate
use.
explanation.
Good, okay. All right, are there any questions from the commission?
I just have one more question.
Sure.
The helicopter pad.
Yes.
What, has it been used before?
Not to my knowledge, it's been there. There was a bit before though. It was actually a concrete pad. There was just that vacant area that was designated as the use for the emergency evacuation in the event that a miner needed to be evacuated via helicopter. Multiple years ago, about two owners ago, IMSHA inspector came by and inquired about that area and instructed the mine foreman that there needed to be a concrete pad for the helicopter evacuation area. And so, unknowing to them that there was an ordinance required for approval for that helicopter pad, they just poured the pad there. So it wasn't until our due diligence of investigation of this new owner that we identified that we didn't have record that the helicopter pad had ever been approved. And so that's why that is in pending approval.
Okay. Thank you. Do you own the property adjacent to the north
Okay.
of the helicopter pad parcel?
To the north where it says the word proposed borehole location?
Right.
No.
Okay. Are y'all actively mining underneath the helicopter pad parcel?
Yes.
What's it currently zoned?
A1 is the surface zoning, but the zoning, surface zoning
What's
doesn't
surface
have
zoning mean? I
Pardon?
don't know what surface zoning means.
Okay, so the zoning of the parcel has no bearing on the progression of the underground mining operation.
Okay,
So whether it's zoned A1 or I3 or C1 or whatever,
yeah,
the mining operation can progress as long as the mineral rights are approved and the Alabama Surface Mining Commission has authorized the progression of that mine site.
okay, all right. And that's, I guess, preempts any zoning regulations that we have?
In the underground mining, yes.
Okay. All right, that was what I was curious about. I'm saying, well, this is a cleanup job, but we're effectively rezoning this entire property.
I
And
would
so-
mention that the portion of that parcel is I3. This is one parcel, and this is just a portion of that parcel that is A1. So it's split zoning for that parcel.
Right.
If we rezoned it though to I3, could they strip mine it?
No. Strip mining requires I3S zone.
I got you. Okay. All right. Thank you. This is new to me. I hadn't seen something like this, so this is new to me.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Mr. Lauer.
So, Mr. Blankenship, we had a letter of opposition from a lady, Mrs. Griffith, and it seems that she is leasing this property and that she maintains cattle on the property. Is that correct?
Okay, you say that, but I don't know that how accurate that could be. There's not any fencing on that property, and the current use is really, you see the utility line, that's kind of those long lines on the property is within the Alabama Surface Mining Commission permit that already exists for this mining operation. So there's already the extent, besides the proposed borehole, the rest of the operation is already present and existing on this property. There is no fencing for potential for cattle or domestic livestock.
So I was trying to establish the facts regarding this opposition letter. So you're not leasing the property for agricultural use right now?
No.
Okay. Michael, did you receive this letter? Or
Yes.
anything else? Did they call and you talked to them or anything?
No.
Okay.
Again, this was all that was included with the letter itself.
So,
So I mean, they didn't give me a phone number, email, or any.
okay,
anything
thank you.
other than to write a letter of return.
Mr. Blankenship, I apologize. I haven't been out to the site myself. Have you visited the site?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Is there any cattle, maybe on neighboring properties? I mean, maybe the opposition was worried maybe they have neighboring properties.
I haven't, and I've been to the site multiple times and the adjacent site as well, and I haven't identified any livestock located on the surrounding or adjacent property, or especially on the property that we have in the permit application.
Okay. All right. Well, if it was being used for agricultural use and we're rezoning it to industrial, then cows on industrial property. That's what I was getting at.
And I would mention that this particular piece of property, it's not suitable for grazing at this particular time. You can see it's been clear cut, and it was clear cut in the past, and it's short sapling shrub growth right now, small pines, so it's not even suitable for grazing.
Okay. All right. Mr. Chairman, that's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Blankenship.
I have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
She also says in her letter that it has, the boring holes would impact a road.
Okay, so can you go back, Michael, to the borehole location? Okay, the proposed borehole location with the star is just north of the existing utility line on the property, and it's over 300 foot from that north boundary line. So there is not an existing road. There's not an existing road within 500 foot or even greater of that proposed borehole site.
And then I would note that although it shows a road, that's a private road, the Overgrove Mine Road, I believe.
Yes,
Correct?
that is
That's
correct.
just to service the mine, so.
Yeah, you have to go through past the guard shack once you get about 1,000 foot up on that road.
Okay.
Thank- Y'all hadn't put the borehole in yet?
No. No, it's proposed for the Alabama Surface Mining Commission revision to add the borehole to that permit application.
I mean, just out of curiosity, I mean, we talking 1,000 feet down, 200 feet down?
It's approximately, right there, it's approximately 1,100 foot
Okay.
into the mine itself, and so, yeah. it's
Pretty
probably-
deep shaft mine.
Yes.
How long would that borehole be used? How long would you have to keep using it? Just indefinite? Or?
No, not indefinite. Right, that particular location, it'll be used, it can range from 5 to 10 years. And typically, that's what we propose when we do a variance for a borehole like that, which is common for the underground mines, such even Warrior Met's mines. But once the mine has progressed in a way that it's not sufficient enough to transport that rock dust to the face of the mine, then that will be capped and closed. Within the proposed revision to the Alabama Surface Mining Commission, there has to be a procedure and plan of closure for this particular borehole once it's no longer in use. That will be submitted. It's actually already submitted to the Alabama Surface Mining Commission in revision R50. And so once they approve that revision and once the borehole is no longer in use, they'll have to cap it and put a little concrete plug in it and then cover it, so it'll no longer be there.
All right. Does that conclude? I know we've asked you questions mostly, but do you have anything else to add to the presentation?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I'll now call for any opposition to this case. Okay. Seeing no opposition, are there any other questions before we close the public hearing? All right. We'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval with a condition that a 100-foot buffer zone is required along all boundaries shared with residential property, and any natural vegetation within that buffer zone be maintained to the maximum extent possible.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. All right, our next case is Z21-7. This is Michael and Judith Arnold's request for change of zoning to CP of a 1-acre parcel in the Vestavia area. Mr. Morrison, if you would, please present the case.
Yes, sir. This property has actually gone before the Planning Commission numerous times for rezoning to an office use. In the past, there's been some prohibitions towards development there, notably the availability of sanitary sewer for the site. Since the Grandview Hospital has come online, which is sort of catty-corner directly across the street, in the aerial photograph you can see that's the back entrance, or the entrance along Cobble River Road to the Grandview campus. A couple of years ago, or a few years ago rather, Dr. Lemack had come through with a proposal to develop the adjacent property to the east, which as you can see has that large office building on it. That was approved by the Planning Commission, and upon the development of that site, they were actually able to extend the sanitary sewer along the front of that property. And this, they're now tying into that particular sewer easement that was there, which will now enable the property to develop into office. It is compliant with the county land use plan. They do plan on sharing that entrance that Lemack has in order to curb cut or to limit the number of curb cuts along Cobble River Road, because as you know, that's a very it's heavily traveled. The only condition staff recommended was to maintain a 35-foot buffer along the rear property line, because as you can see, there are some residences along Jamamie Lane to the south, and that's just in an effort to protect them from any adverse impacts of all the office development along the Cobble River Road corridor. The applicant is here if you've got any questions, and if not, that's staff recommendation. Again, compliant with the land use plan, and it would be in keeping with the past practice of the Planning and Zoning Commission to recommend approval, as it's been approved for office use several times in the past when we had what we call a reversionary clause. And so if there weren't any development, the property would automatically revert. And this is just a consequence of utilizing that particular reversionary clause several times in a row. And if you'll notice now, we don't even recommend that as part of our conditions, simply for reasons just as this. So if you got any questions, I'm glad to entertain them. Again, the applicants.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Ms. Thompson, do you want to add to the presentation. If you would, please state your name and address for the record at the podium.
Todd Thompson, MTTR Engineers, 2500 South Lake Park, Hoover 35244. All right, so we understand about the zoning. The problem with the condition of the 35-foot undisturbed is there's 40 foot of topographic relief from the back of the site to the front. So the smart way to develop this is cut down the back and fill the front, put the same finished floor similar to what the LEMAC clinic is. In doing so, you can't have a 35-foot undisturbed buffer in the back. We would proffer to plant that area, and even if visual is the problem for the neighbor behind us, perhaps put a 6-foot tall wooden fence. But you cannot effectively develop the property with a 35-foot undisturbed rear setback.
Okay. Anything else you want to add now, or you will defer until after we hear the opposition? Okay. We'll now call for anyone here in opposition to this case, or anyone from the public who has any questions.
Mike, I'm kind of flipped around. Where's the hospital located? I know it's not on the.
That is the back, that is the Copper River Road entrance to the hospital on the opposite side of the road. See the large drive that goes up there?
Okay.
No opposition, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Seeing that there is no opposition, are there any questions from the commission for the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Lowry?
Mr. Thompson, if you wouldn't mind. I understand about the buffer, so I appreciate you giving us that feedback. I'm really familiar with this area. I sat on the commission when this was rezoned at least one time before, and it wasn't developed. So one thing that I'm missing here is some details on the architectural aspects and elevation of the building. Would you mind describing?
Yeah, it's going to be a physical therapy clinic. It's not going to look like the LEMAC clinic. It's going to have more of a residential feel. It's very quiet. It only has, maybe a dozen parks, 15 parks there behind it. The way it will be positioned on the site is very similar to how we did LEMAC, because it drains from the back to the front. So you have to come up, you put your detention pond there. It will be a single-story building that sits on a slab, and you come in and you park it from behind. I'm going to say it has a residential feel, but I don't have a building elevation in my hand that I can actually show.
What are your plans for the exterior, the facade and building materials?
Well, knowing the LEMAX, it's going to be a nice building. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be siding or anything like that. So,
okay. Would you be agreeable to, if we had a condition in here, that the architecture of the building be comparable to the other structures nearby?
Sure, absolutely.
Just to make sure it's compatible with the area.
Well, I'd caution on that one, just simply because, for instance, next door at LEMAC, that doesn't have a residential feel to it at all. I mean, it's clearly the opposite.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're in a portion we're in a segment of this roadway that's sort of in transition from one to the other.
Right.
Because as you go down further down the road, we've traditionally put that requirement or covenant in the past for more residential load, but all that was prior to the advent of the hospital across the street, too.
So, well, the way I was going to word it is that it's compatible with the area. So it could be compatible with LEMAC, or it could be compatible with the residences.
Yeah, we're comfortable with that because the architect's done a great job.
It just needs to be transitional. It needs to blend with the area.
Right.
You follow me?
I do, but I still see that's extremely vague for staff to.
Would you like something more specific?
It's a little subjective for staff to
Correct.
make that
I
determination.
mean, I'm accustomed to.
Bring it back before the PNC for your determination.
I mean, we could do that.
Well, I mean, I was trying to avoid that, so. I mean, we're accustomed to seeing the elevations come in here on what it's going to look like, rather than just approving the zoning itself. Not that you're going to have an acceptable plan.
Right.
It's just something we're accustomed to seeing to make sure it is an acceptable plan. And I don't want to have to bring you back for it. That's why I was thinking some words to go along with it. Michael, what do you suggest? Nothing? Okay.
I mean, again, it's in a place in a position where it's kind of wide open. Again, if you want to look at the site plan and architectural review, I mean, we can have that as a separate, something later when they submit their building plans.
Any objections to that, Mr. Thompson?
No, we're fine with that. And there again, this is a professional office, and there's no intent to come out here and throw something together and call it good.
I understand,
So, yeah.
but if I don't think about it now and you change your mind later,
Right.
so
I got you.
then there's nothing to hold you
Yeah.
back.
So if we could pick it up just during plan submittal or plan review, I'm confident. We have a fabulous architect. And I'm confident that he can make every one of you guys happy.
I recognize that, but if it changes that somebody else comes in and builds it and they put something else up if you sell it, but anyway.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it changed because they're far enough along with spending non-refundables for geotech survey, for me. You know, we've got to extend the sewer across the front of LEMAC.
Yes.
And that's a hefty chunk of change. That's what stymied these properties in the past is because there was no sewer availability. And so now somebody's actually coming to it and saying, oh, we got the sewer, it's right here. We'll run it, so.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all I had for you. I have a question for staff real quick. Because of the difficulty associated with maintaining the 35-foot buffer, I can't tell from the map how far the residents are from there. Is it like 100 feet, 200 feet? It looks like there's a parcel.
300.
300 feet?
No, I'm sorry, 200. There's a residence adjacent to 200 feet.
So what would be your recommendation? A 6-foot fence and a planted buffer, or just a fence?
A 15-foot buffer is required in the ordinance anyway, and that buffer could be planted, that buffer could be left natural. If you want to require the fence as well, the fence would be installed on the periphery, or it would be buffered and fenced and development. So that way you get the buffer that's adjacent to the residence, then the fence from there, and then the development that would be there.
Okay. So
That's something that you would like to require.
okay. Mr. Thompson, given what Michael talked about, would you describe what you think would be, given the grading you're going to have to do on the site, what would be the best solution for you?
Yeah, we would like to do a 15-foot planted buffer as required and a 6-foot tall wooden fence at the property line, or thereabout,
right.
on our side of the property, obviously.
So 15-foot buffer planted and a 6-foot fence?
A 6-foot wooden fence, yes.
All right. Thank you.
Michael, I'll add too, that is wooden, that apartment complex has a wooden fence there, just to the east. It's a wooden fence, kind of plan above it, just like that was described.
Okay.
And then also, I don't know if the extent is to go all the way to the property line to clear, but I don't want to say planted buffer, and then we have some natural stuff there too, as well. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, we will leave as much as we can behind. The way this thing is engineered is you start from the front, you build your pond, you build your slope, you get your finished floor the same as LEMAC, because you want them to be about the same, and then you run up the slope. And then whatever's left behind is what's left. So you don't build it from the back forward, so. But that's what, so we'll give you all we got, but I can't do 35, so.
So I think this 15-foot buffer, either planted or natural, which we'll look at that at site plan review anyway, and we could do that then. So I mean, if it's just the 15-foot planted buffer, then you would just need to state that you also want the 6-foot privacy fence to that, because the 15-foot buffer is required by the zoning regulations.
So I'm thinking a 6-foot wood privacy fence to go with the 15-foot buffer, which will either be planted or natural combination.
Well, but did I understand you right that the planted or natural, that's already required in CP?
Yes, well, it's
I mean, so
anywhere where there's an adjacent residential property.
So that would be,
commercial or industrial development.
I mean, that would be a redundancy then to actually have an express condition.
To put it in addition to it, and just in addition to the required 15-foot buffer, that's fine. That's fine.
And the final thing, just to recap, was to have an architectural review brought back to P&Z. All right, that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lowry. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, for zoning case Z21 0007, make a motion to recommend approval with the following conditions: that there be an architectural review brought back to the planning and zoning for approval, that there be a 15-foot buffer requirement is met with the combination of planted or natural materials, and including a 6-foot wood privacy fence in that buffer along the residential property line at the rear of the property.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion properly seconded. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Our next case is zoning case 21-8. Mary Beard and Ricky Foster's request for change of zoning to A1 of a I2 parcel consisting of 6 acres in the Trustful area. Mr. Morrison.
Yes, sir. This is a compliance case. This is part of an old dairy that was established out in the Trustful area, very close to the St. Clair County line. The majority of the property is zoned I2 or was zoned I2, I guess in conjunction with the dairy operation. Looking back at research, there's some unclarity there as to the exact purpose of the I2 zoning. But this would just bring the portion that has the residents into compliance with the zoning regulations. The portion of the property is actually located between this Glendale Farms Road and a railroad track, but again, it does contain a residence on it. And so, again, the applicant, I think, is looking to sell and liquidate some of these properties, and was requested the rezoning to be able to do so that new owners could receive financing.
Thank you. Mr. Hornsby, you got anything to add?
Just simply that this property, my client is going to be retaining about 95 acres here, and they just wanted to ensure kind of what was going to be across the street from them when they sold this property.
Okay.
They don't have any intention to use it for anything that's industrial, and they just think A1 is a better zone.
Good to state your name and address for us for the record, Mr. Warren.
Bobby Hornsby, my office address is 2010 Old Springville Road, Suite 100, Birmingham 35215.
Thank you. We'll now call for anyone here in opposition to this case. No. Seeing none, any questions from the commission for the applicant? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of zoning case Z21-0008.
Second.
Got a motion properly seconded. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Next case, zoning case 21-9, Oxmoor Holding LLC's request for a change of zoning from CP to C1 for an office and warehouse for an electrical contractor, 1.82 acres in the Rocky Ridge area. Mr. Morrison, if you would please present the case.
Yes, sir. This case consists of 2 tax parcels that are adjacent to the existing on-time electric facility that was rezoned and approved by the Planning Commission back in 2012. The applicant requested to go to C1 zoning, and at the time, the Planning and Zoning Commission interpreted the land use plan to include that areas which are designated for office, it would be suitable to allow for small contractors' offices as well. And thus, that case was approved and deemed to be compliant with the land use plan at the time. This is an expansion of that operation to include a large warehouse where there's a lot of materials that would be shipped, and then distributed amongst the various folks that work for the company itself. You'll see on the the site plan where they propose the structure is fairly large, and it also depicts where the existing on-time electric is located. Traffic engineering had some concerns about the number of curb cuts that would be allowed on Old Rocky Ridge Road in conjunction with this expansion. And if this were to be approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, they would be required to do a traffic study in conjunction with their development plans. Again, that would be in order to determine whether or not it would be appropriate to have the 3 curb cuts along the road, and or what other suggestions could be made for access, as well as any road improvements that would be warranted along Old Rocky Ridge Road in conjunction with the development. As this particular use has been deemed acceptable for areas that are designated as office in the land use plan, staff recommends approval with, again, the condition that the use of the property be limited to the requested electrical contractor's office and warehouse, and any other use that would be allowed under CP zoning. And that would be to maintain the integrity of the office type uses along this particular segment of the corridor. This area has become mostly commercial, mostly offices, whether or not it's been part of the Jefferson County jurisdiction or that of the city of Hoover. There's a couple of offices around the corner. And in fact, adjacent to this property to the southeast, it appears to be a contractor's office operating out of a residence that is zoned A1, but we're starting enforcement proceedings on that property as well. Again, so the use of the property wouldn't be out of line with anything that would be surrounding it. And you'll notice on your zoning map that most of the area has a C1 zoning, the area to the rear of it anyway, that has access off of an adjacent road. So it is adjacent to existing C1 zoning where a wide array of commercial uses could take place. And again, the recommended condition is just to keep the integrity of the office use with the area land use plan.
Thank you. Great presentation. Is there anyone here? Is the applicant here?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
so a traffic study would be required for this? Did I understand that?
Yes, that's correct.
How long does it take to conduct a traffic?
Heather, how long would it take to conduct a traffic study?
No.
Sir, if you would,
No.
come forward, state your name and address for the record.
It's Tim Burns, 2668 Old Rocky Ridge Road.
Thank you. Mr. Burns, you don't have to add anything at this time unless you would like to. Did you hear Mr. Morrison's presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you want to add anything now, you can. If you want to wait until see if there's anyone in opposition, I'm happy for you to do that too. Okay. Is that what you like to do?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it is going to be C1 and not CP.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? No opposition? All right. Are there any questions from the commission for Mr. Burns or staff, anyone?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Lauer.
First for staff, then I'll have some for you. So, Michael, I'm looking, would you pull up the zoning map here for us? The zoning map?
That's it.
Okay, yours is a different color than mine, sorry. Mine's bright red, not burgundy. So the property behind this parcel that we're talking about is currently zoned C1. I looked at the aerial, my aerial, not yours, for this, and it looks like they're more like CP businesses, professional doctors' offices, high-end type stuff. I haven't been out there. I've driven Old Rocky Ridge plenty. I haven't been in those businesses behind there before. So, and for some of this road is in Hoover, right?
Correct.
So, and do they have C1 in their areas along Old Rocky Ridge?
Yes, they do. If you look on this on the zoning map, you see the three parcels
Yes.
that are Hoover.
Gotcha. I'm
Down
sorry.
there, those are all offices.
Okay.
I think they're medical offices.
Okay.
Medical and I think a real estate office.
All right. Okay. Now, thank you, Mr. Morrison. Mr. Burns, what I didn't see included in the package was any sort of description of the buildings, how it was going to be laid out, any architectural. Could you tell us about your plans for it?
Yes, it's going to be our current warehouse on the right-hand side. It's 3,500 square feet, and we've outgrown it, and we're going to be placing another warehouse. This is going to be warehouse only, where our original has warehouse and office space in it. This one will be mostly 99.9% just storage for electrical heating and air and plumbing, stuff like that. It'll be parts.
What type of building are you going to put in?
It's going to be a metal building. It'll be similar to the one that we already have, but not exactly the same.
Okay. Is it one level or is it multiple?
Yes, it's going to be one level.
Okay. What I'm interested about is how it blends in with the adjoining structures and businesses in there.
Yeah. Our other building, it has like the stucco covering, but this will be more metal than the stucco, but it'll be the same color and everything as our current building we have now. Where we're at now, one of these properties is just a house that we have been using as office space, but it's going to get demolished for the warehouse area.
Okay. And how far off the road are you planning on setting your building? Or your buildings?
Yeah, go to I guess our picture.
Do you currently have plans drawn up for this?
They're in the process of it now. Yeah, right there, you can see in front of the building, it looks like everything that goes along Old Rocky Ridge Road in this area has about the same back spacing all the way down the road. Each business has about the same, and that's the way ours currently is on the right-hand side, and we were just going to match the buildings to keep them parallel with each other going down the roadway. I don't know the exact footage on that, but you can tell by the roadway about how far it would be.
Similar setbacks, I got you, thank you. I apologize, I missed that drawing and flipping through the materials again.
Oh, no problem.
Michael, thanks for pulling that up. So it's just going to be like a metal Butler building facade
It's
facing
going to
the
be a
road?
Butler building, but it's not going to look like a Butler building. It's going to be, it's going to be nicer.
Okay, will you eventually have an elevation view drawing for this?
Yes, all that is in the works right now as we speak. They came out last Friday, and we walked the property, and they figured out what we needed, and they're supposed to be making those now.
Okay, so what I'm thinking is that if we approve this today, that we ask you to come back with that so we can review and approve that too.
Yes, no problem.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I think that's all I have.
Okay, thanks. I've got a quick question. So y'all are currently, y'all's building is to the right of
Yes,
these
the
two
one on the
parcels?
right-hand side.
So, the existing building?
That's the building we're at now.
That's where y'all are at now?
And where the warehouse is going, there's just a residential house that we're using
I
for
got
office
you.
space.
I got you, okay. So y'all gonna continue operating?
Yes, that's
there?
staying.
Okay,
That'll be the people that are in the house area right now. That'll be
Uh-huh.
offices in the bottom half of it now.
I got you, okay.
Your existing building, you're using a septic system for sewage disposal?
Yes, we have a septic system. The sewage stops about 400 feet to the right of our building. And it doesn't pick up again until probably, I don't know, it's on the other side of existing companies that are down below us. We checked into that. I believe it's about 400 feet is the closest area that we could actually get to it. And they said it would be like $4 a linear foot. It would be really expensive. And we have a septic tank with a pump, and our field lines are behind our building that goes up the hill right there currently.
So are y'all just an electrical contractor?
Electrical, HVAC, plumbing, we're doing insulation and also like stoves and refrigerators and stuff like that also.
What kind of, would it be new parts in this building only, or?
Yes. That's the same thing we'll have in that building, just on a larger scale. We've just outgrown our current warehouse.
No storage of used or?
No.
Y'all don't do any repairs or anything like that on
No,
site?
sir. No, we just do new stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that's a good question. So, Mr. Burns, how about when you do a repair, where do you take your, what you remove from the residents or businesses?
Yes, we have an area, well, if the red building that we're building was the house that we're in right now, there's an area right on the side of it where we bring the old stuff and we load it up on a trailer and just take it to the scrapyard.
Okay.
Water heaters, HVAC units, used wire, piping, that sort of thing.
So, Michael, is that outside storage?
It would be, I mean, if it's something that's kept there like perpetually or overnight or something, but I mean,
Yes.
they're just taking it, they're unloading it and then loading it on something else.
Right.
Okay.
When the
Just-
technicians bring it in from the job,
Yeah.
they unload it there and we load it on the trailer.
What we were hinting at is that we don't want it to become a junk storage
Oh, no,
pile,
no.
so,
No.
okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and all these parking spaces that we see here, I guess those would be for y'all's company vehicles?
Correct. Yeah, we're really limited right now.
Yeah.
On our parking.
Okay.
And it's not an issue except for in the morning when all the techs are there picking up their supplies.
Okay. Mr. DeBrow?
Just a word of caution, because looking at your drawing, it seems like so much of the property is being taken up by hard surfaces. Just remember that since you're going to be on a septic system, you've got to allot yourself enough room for a septic system.
Right.
So keep that in mind. I'm sure you've got people who are looking at that.
Right.
Just please don't forget that.
Right.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, make a motion to recommend approval of zoning case Z21-0009 with the condition that the use of the property be limited to the requested electrical contractor's office and warehouse, and that any other use would be allowed per CP zoning. So like if you changed to do something else, you'd have to come back if it wasn't in CP zoning. And then also with the condition that they return for approval of architectural review.
Second.
I've got a motion properly seconded. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carried. All right. Thank you, Mr. Burns. Good luck. Next case is Z21-10, Alan Niedermeyer's request for a change of zoning from I3 to A1 for 46 acres in the Gilmore area. Mr. Morrison, if you would please present the case.
Yes, sir. If you look on your zoning map, this portion retains its industrial zoning. Everything around it has been piecemeal zoned, one by one, has been zoned to A1 for residential use, and this just wishes to follow suit. Applies to the county land use plan. It would effectively downzone the property and protect the adjacent property owners who have already rezoned to A1 from any sort of detrimental use that could commence under its existing zoning. So, staff recommended approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? No opposition. Then the applicant's here? Okay. Do y'all wish to come forward and add anything to the presentation at this time? Yeah. I tell you what, I hate to trouble. If you could, just give us your name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Alan Niedermeyer, and I live at 504 Cottondale Drive in Hueytown, Alabama, 35023.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Niedermeyer. Did you have anything to add to Mr. Morrison's presentation?
Once again, I didn't hear what he was saying. I was walking into the room, so.
I see. Okay.
You're just going to do it for residents, right?
Yeah, we're just going to build a house. That's it.
Sounds simple enough.
Yeah, that's.
Thanks.
It was actually a big surprise. We thought it was zoned A1 when we bought it, so.
Sure. Yeah. I understand. Okay. Well, are there any questions from the commission?
Just a quick one, Mr. Chairman. Michael, what's the acreage on it? It's 46 acres, right?
Yes, sir.
And I have a question for the applicant, Mr. Niedermeyer. You're just planning on building a residential house, not adding a trailer or anything like that?
No, just a house. That's it.
Okay. All right.
I don't want any trailers on my property.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. May I please have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval for zoning case Z21-0010.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Good luck. All right. That concludes our rezoning cases. We do have one more case. This is a site layout and architectural design approval request. Case number Z20-6. This is UAB's request for approval of the site layout and architectural design in accordance with the existing condition on the zoning. Mr. Morrison, if you would please present the case.
Yes, sir. If you remember back in June of last year, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this property to be rezoned to institutional 2 for the new UAB West Hospital. Part of the conditions on the rezoning was that the Planning Commission has review of the site plan and architectural renderings for the hospital. If you give it just a second, those will load. Those are also available in your packet. This is the proposed site layout. You'll notice this also includes the relocation of Dale Hill Road in the area, or the approximate location of where that road relocation is going to be. You also see where there's plenty of landscaping around the parking lot. There's a landscape buffer area where adjacent to the remaining residential properties along Pocahontas. The hospital site itself, and it also includes, again, a helipad that will have to be approved by the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and it is on their docket for the end of the month as well. They have also included the elevations of the building that depict the architecture. As shown. And they also, as they stated in the planning and zoning hearing, as well as the hearing before the county commission, they do have this lake element on the property, and we'll go back to the site plan, that they do hopefully one day want to open up for some sort of, communal or public use for enjoyment of residents of the area as well. So if you got any questions for them, they're here. If you got any questions for staff, let me know. Again, based on what their past presentation was and the intent to protect as much of the existing or remaining residential area, staff recommended approval of the site plan as shown with the condition that or with the contingency that the helipad is approved by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. And again, that is something that is allowed by approval of the BZA in the zoning regulations. So.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. I'd ask if the applicant would like to come forward and add anything to Mr. Morrison's presentation, please do so at this time. Don't feel obligated to, but if you would like to, you certainly have the opportunity.
I'm Sean Tenney, the Chief Operating Officer, and we're just excited to be able to bring this project to West Jefferson County, and we've worked with our team behind us, for this, so we're just excited to be able to do this.
Thank you, sir. If you could give me your address for the record.
It's 995 9th Avenue Southwest, Bessemer, Alabama, 35022.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm Dan Lures with HKS KPS. We're the design firm. What we wanted you all to know as a commission is truly how impressed we are with the commissions that we're working with, like roads and transportation, planning and zoning. They've afforded us access to what's going on, letting us keep them informed. They have been just really spectacular to work with, so I thought you should know.
Well, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against this matter?
There's no opposition.
No opposition? Yeah, then just for comments and stuff, I think that the exterior facade of the main building is very attractive. I like the mirrored look. It looks like it'll kind of blend in with anything, frankly. And so it looks like a very professional, well thought out site plan too. And so I'm very impressed, and we look forward to this I look forward to this project being built. So, yes, ma'am.
Is that lake or pond already on the site?
No, ma'am. It is there. It is.
There's an existing site for grooming. Maybe not twice.
Yeah, that's right. That's
You're going to
correct.
make it twice as big.
A lot of that's going to handle the drainage from the site as well, correct? That's correct.
Has there been any communication with the residents in you planning this project? Have you all met with any of the residents at all?
I'm Deborah McGill-Smith, Cushman & Wakefield, EGS, a real estate advisor of Medical West in 2103 3rd Avenue, North Birmingham.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. We have a completely surrounding the entire site. There's been communication, people across. We have recently acquired 3 of the adjacent properties. Michael can kind of point out where those are for multiple purposes, because they were so close to our site, to give them an opportunity to be able to relocate, and then secondly also to prepare for future infrastructure. So we also, on the Pocahontas side, have had discussions with all of those property owners. We have made some offers. Some people just are not prepared to move. And so, but those have been out there, and Medical West has taken an extremely great approach from a neighborhood standpoint to give those people options. But, many have chosen to stay there.
Thank you.
If I recall, this was a phased development. This is the first phase of it. I remember we had the rezoning case was in. The properties here that are across Bell Hill Road, the out parcel, if you will. What are the plans for that?
Across Bell Hill Road?
Yeah, I think, across Bell Hill. Is there not?
Where it's going to be flattened out and all that. A lot of that's been acquired by UAV at this point in time, correct?
It has
On the same side of the well.
It is for future growth. We don't have any current plans.
Yeah.
It's for future growth.
Okay, but and that's what I'm getting. That's what I mean by phased. Okay, but there's no plans right now for it. You just, when you're acquiring this parcel, I guess you had to acquire that one as well. All right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. So, I probably should know this from what we've already been through, but what kind of expected traffic with the helicopter? Like downtown is a level 1 trauma, and I know you have flights daily just about.
What we can put in for DCA or Medical West, they're going to be looking at about a max 30 a year.
Okay.
Primarily outbound.
Okay.
It's going to stay, it's not going to be a level 1 trauma. So
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Are there any further questions from the commission?
Just a comment. I mean, it's a great plan. Looks great. It's going to be great for the area.
All right. Anything else? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the site layout and architectural design for zoning case Z200006 with contingency upon approval of the helipad by Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Good luck. All right, that concludes our meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be nice. That area's gonna be. I didn't realize they would do that. That's so great. That area.
Hey, Martin, we could make it to Collins. They open about.
Oh. You too. Good meeting. Good meeting. I was looking at that, and I looked at the back